We were promised a new free legendary champion inside of Raid Shadow Legends in January. I have all of the details here of this and how it relates to the Monster Hunter world. For any of you Monster Hunter gamers out there, if you love Raid Shadow Legends, consider subscribing to the channel if you like what we do here today. Starting off with the when you log into the game screen, 5 brand new champions have arrived to join the battle for Teleria as part of our ongoing collaboration with Capcom's Monster Hunter franchise. Here are the lists. Let me know if you know any of these champions in the comment section below if you're a Monster Hunter player. We have Rathalos Blade Master, a legendary attack force Bannerlords. We have Zinogre Blade Master, legendary attack magic Shadowkin. We have Nerginante Archer. I obviously don't know all these characters from the Monster Hunter world. Legendary defense Spirit Barbarian. We have Alatrion Blade Master, legendary support Spirit Knight, the Knight's Revenants. And we have Blade Master Fatalis, who is legendary HP Void from the Dark Elves. Now, there is a lot more details that we're going to dive into right here than just that. And they do actually have a little story trailer that I'll try to remember to look at with you guys later on inside of today's video. But upon logging inside of the game today, I got myself my day 1 reward. Now, notice on day 7, we're going to be able to unlock a brand new legendary champion, Rathalos. Let's take a look at him, see what he actually, well, first of all, he looks awesome. Let's see what he's actually going to do sitting over here as a Bannerlord. Let's take a look at his A1. Spirit Thrust level 1. Attacks one enemy, has a 50% chance of placing a 60% decreased defense debuff for 2 turns. If the target is a boss, this debuff cannot be resisted. Damage is based on attack. So far, I like. On the A2, Spirit Step Slash level 1 attacks one enemy. Every second use of this skill in a round will attack all enemies instead. So it's nice. You get the first enemy attack on one, and then any attack after that is going to be on multiple enemies. Will also ignore 25% of the target's defense. If the target is a boss, it will ignore 100% of the target's defense. That's incredible. I like that. Not worrying about any defense from any of these big bosses can be huge for us. The A3 Overhead Slash attacks all enemies. Before attacking, places a 30% increase crit damage buff and a 30% increased speed buff on this champion for 2 turns. Now, check out this thing right here. Our number 4, Rathalos Mastery. This is going to unlock at Ascension level 3, which is not that difficult to do. Inflicts 50% more damage against targets under HP burn. Remember, we're running the Geomancer because we just unlocked him on the account, who does inflict the HP burn. Receives 25% less damage from enemies under HP burn debuffs. And every 5th skill used by this champion deals 200% more damage. To be honest, for a free champion that's most likely going to be my first ever legendary champion, he looks pretty darn good, if you ask me. Now, I want to take things over and, well, first of all, let's go and check out what we have right here. This was the login screen that we saw, that's basically telling us what's going on. And then we have this over here on Twitter, which is telling us all about what we can have and what's going to be for us to look forward to inside of the game. Clad in armor and weapons crafted from slain monsters, our 5 champions based on the Monster Hunter franchise are a sight to behold. Check out their skills and jump in game to see how you can collect these brave warriors. Read more? I think we should read more. Let's take a look over here at what we have going on from Raid. All right, so these are the champions, all 5 that we're going to be able to get in January. We're going to look at all of them, kind of skim through and see what they have to offer. Maybe I even have a bigger view here. There we go. How about that? That'll help you out. So the first one we have is Aladron Blade Master. Please excuse my pronunciation of the names. All right, so we could look at all of their skills essentially right now. The Foresight Slash attacks one enemy, has a 40% chance of increasing the duration of 2 random buffs on all allies by 1 turn. The second, the A2 Reaping Slash, attacks all enemies, places a 60% increased defense buff and a shield buff on all allies for 2 turns. The shield is equal to 30% of the champion's max HP. Notice right here, this is being set up as a support champion. We have the Cleanser Booster. Removes all debuffs from all allies and places a block debuffs buff on all allies for 2 turns. If a boss is present in the current round, this buff is protected for 5 turns. Wow. So it's going to cleanse you of all debuffs that you may have, and it's going to then block debuffs that may be incoming for 2 turns. Again, super strong support from what it seems so far. We have Alatron Definity. Fills this champion's turn meter by 5% every time a debuff is placed on them. So they're getting more opportunities for their cleansing. Also heals this champion by 5% of their max HP, whether a debuff placed on them expires or is removed. And then we have the Aura, increases ally speed in dungeons by 30%. Honestly, seems like a pretty legit support champion. Now, as it sits right now, being myself a month into the game, looking at these champions right here are things that are going to be very beneficial to me and my account if I happen to get them, just because of the arsenal of champions that I have right now versus what these ones would add to my roster. Let's move on right here to an HP champion. We're talking about Fatalis Blade Master. And we're going to start off with Charged Slash. Attacks one enemy, ignores 15% of the target's defense if this attack is critical. Also, has a 20% chance of granting an extra turn. Nice. We also have Wide Slash. Attacks one enemy, will ignore Strengthen, Stone Skin, increases defense, and ally protection buffs. Also ignores 15% of the target's defense if the attack is critical. Decreases the target's attack by 10%, stacks up to 30% for turns. Strong Wide Slash is the A3. Attacks all enemies, which I always love. 15% chance of the target's defense if the attack is critical. Decreases the target's defense by 5%, and this could stack up to 30%. Let's slide down so we can see it all right here, because there's a lot to take a look at. And then we have the Charged Slash. Attacks one enemy, will ignore 50% of the target's defense, fills the champion's turn meter by 50% if the attack is critical. Damage inflicted by this skill cannot be decreased by enemy passive skills or masteries, except for the passive skills of bosses. Damage inflicted by this skill cannot be increased by either this champion's masteries or allies' passive skills, except when attacking bosses. This is a secret skill and only becomes available when any 3 of this champion's skills were used in a round. So utilizing 3 skills is going to unlock the Charge Slash, which seems like a pretty OP skill if you ask me. Moving on, we have the Fatalis Legend. Places a shield buff on this champion equal to 25% of their max HP for 2 turns at the end of their turn. The champion cannot receive critical hits while under a shield buff placed by this champion, and the Aura increases ally HP in arena battles by 35%. Again, this one right here, this one seems pretty incredible if you ask me. The HP Dark Elf. All right, let's go on over here to Nergiganate. Said that wrong completely, but it's okay. We're looking at a defense type champion right here. Charged Shot. Attacks one enemy, places a 50% increase accuracy buff on this champion for 2 turns. We like accuracy. We like to place our hits. Spinning Shot. Attacks all enemies, has a 75% chance of placing a stun debuff for 1 turn. I like the hitting all enemies element of it. If the target is a boss, has a 75% chance of placing a 30% decreased speed debuff for 2 turns instead. Also decreases the turn meter of enemies under a stun debuff placed by this skill by 20%. Fills turn meters of all allies by 10% if a 30% decreased speed debuff is placed by this skill instead. So far, it's looking fairly solid, but we have more. Rapid Shot. Attacks all enemies, places a Hex debuff for 2 turns and a Provoke debuff for 1 turn. If the target is a boss, places a Hex debuff for 3 turns and a Provoke debuff for 2 turns instead. Then we have our final. It's called, the name again, Nergiganate. Heals all allies by 10% of their max HP when attacking enemies under a Hex debuff. If there are multiple champions in the team with this skill, only one will activate. Increases the champion's defense by 5% each time the champion revives a hit from an enemy under a Hex debuff, stacks up to 30%. And the aura increases ally defense in dungeons by 30%. All right, now we have obviously Rathalos Blade Master, who we looked at before inside of the game, so we don't need to go through all of his stuff here again because, well, we already did. I'm not sure if we covered his aura, increases the ally attack in dungeons by 30%, but that is our attack champion. And then the final, Zinogre Blade Master. This is another attack champion. Blade combo, attacks one enemy 3 times, has a 30% chance of placing a 25% weaken debuff for 2 turns. Blade Strike attacks one enemy 4 times. Wow. Each hit increasing the champion's turn meter by 5%. Also places a 30% increased speed buff on all allies for 2 turns. Then we have Blade Spin. Attacks one enemy 4 times. Before attacking, places a 50% increased attack buff on this champion for 2 turns. The first and second hit each have a 75% chance of placing a Leech debuff for 2 turns. And the third and fourth hit of each have a 75% chance of placing a 50% decreased attack debuff for 2 turns. Now, although only attacking one enemy, which is not typically something that I personally like, we're getting a lot of damage and buffs that we're getting from those attacks. On each of those strikes, something different is happening. Increased attack, Leech, decreased attack for the opponent. Then we have Zinger Essence, or Zinogre Essence. Passive effect, increases the damage this champion deals by 1% for every 1% of HP lost, and it stacks up to 50%. The increased damage doubles if a target is under a decreased defense debuff. The active effect prevents this champion's death and keeps them alive on 1 HP when hit by a fatal hit. That could be huge, especially when you are pairing them with someone that could heal the team as well. If this skill prevents this champion's death, heals them by 50% of their max HP. Oh my god. Take that back. You don't even need the healer on the team when you get, if they do survive death, if they cheat death, they get healed halfway up of their max. That's crazy. Will not prevent this champion's death if they are under a heal reduction debuff. And increases ally speed in dungeons by 30%. That is the that is the aura that we're working with right there. So we're back inside of the game. Again, looking at, they're gonna look awesome. It's no secret. Everything looks pretty awesome inside of Raid. They do a nice job with the champions. I personally really like that they're teaming up with Monster Hunter now. I love seeing other IPs being thrown into the mix. And check this out right here. This is the chase right here. Reach 7 days and play before March 5th to get the mighty Rathalos. This is what I'm going to be working on right here. We got our day 1. And this right here, 7 days in, is going to be my first legendary champion inside of the game. Now, the whole goal here has been, of my grind, we've been focused on getting our Kale to max, which we just saw in a video. We've been now working on getting our Geomancer leveled to 60 and to unlock his masteries most likely. And then we were going to be focusing in on Armiger. I wonder if my plans will now change, being that we've got a new legendary from the Monster Hunter world incoming to the game. Also, we have some different summon events going on. Ancient Shards, Progressive Chance. We have a Progressive Chance right here and a Guaranteed Champion right here, which could be used for the fusion. We have Progressive Chance as well for our Primal Shards and for our Sacred Shards as well. That's what's going on inside of Raid Shadow Legends. And I got to pick up my gem because we got a freebie right here. Pla-pling. There we go. Let me know what you guys think of the incoming update. Are you excited for these champions incoming? Do you think they're going to make your roster? Or do you think that they are possibly just not ones that you're interested in and that they're not going to be used by you in any way? I want to hear down below. Additionally, if you or a friend have never played Raid Shadow Legends, consider using my code. It's in the description of this video. It's going to give you a free champion and a bunch of free rewards, and it directly supports me here on the channel. And as you have been probably following me on my journey, thank you guys so much. Make sure you subscribe so you see what I'm doing next and all of my progress in Raid Shadow Legends.